pleasure to have Greg Tanzer, the ASIC Commissioner, with us. Good to see you.
Hey Andrew.
Welcome back to SPAA.
Thanks very much.
How's your last 12 months been? Fairly busy, I would imagine?
It has been a busy 12 months. We're fully engaged with the implementation of a number of reforms that are relevant for SPAA members, in particular the stronger super reforms, but also the future of financial advice reforms, which are very relevant for accountants giving superannuation advice. So it's been a very busy 12 months.
And new exams for auditors?
Yes. Yeah, look, these stronger super reforms include some very important reforms going to auditors of self-managed super funds.
Okay, so why now? I mean, I know it's 10 years since SPAA began and self-managed super funds have been around for a while, but why this point in time?
Yeah, look, the government announced quite a significant raft of reforms, and I mentioned these stronger super reforms, and that's really reflecting the importance of the superannuation industry as a whole.
So they should be taking it as a compliment?
They certainly should take it as a compliment, but well, look, they're in a very fast-growing, or all the people who'll be watching this are in a very fast-growing industry, but more than just being a fast-growing industry, it's a really important industry for Australians. You know, as our population ages, more and more of us are sort of thinking about our retirement. We're living longer, and so our needs in retirement are that much greater. So it's nice to bring it back to the fact that this is really about how people live in their retirement. And in self-managed super in particular, this is an area where more and more Australians are getting interested in taking control of their own super and how you invest it. But part with that comes a big responsibility to make sure you do it sensibly.
Just before we get to that, it's good that you're talking about, which is what I think Alan Kohler said in the paper. He said it should be about a retirement protection plan as opposed to a revenue source for the government to fill some other holes that haven't quite worked out, which appears to be the way it's sort of shaping up, or a battle appears to be looming along that line.
Look, I think that's inevitable because tax is closely associated with super. People get certain tax concessions for putting money away, and that's a way that the government uses to encourage people to save. All the same, every tax concession that the government gives is a little less saving that the government has. So there's sort of swings and roundabouts here, but you're dead right. It's very important to bring this back to the fact that what we're talking about is proper retirement incomes and therefore prosperity for people in their retirement. So when people think about super, tax is inevitably tied to this because the government does provide generous, well, people argue about whether they're generous or not.
And that's
the government provides tax concessions to encourage people to save for their super. But the heart of super is about making sure that people have enough money
to live on
for their retirement. And this is really important as our population ages.
Okay, with the exam for auditors, how deep does it go? I mean, how well, once you've got this qualification, what does that set you up to become? Yeah,
look, the whole idea of this competency exam is that we want to set a standard for auditors doing this sort of work. So this is new, and it's intended to be an extra requirement, and actually, frankly, an extra hurdle if you're going to be doing the business of auditing self-managed super funds. The reason it's important is that the auditor performs a crucial gatekeeper role. The auditor can help detect obviously breaches of the tax law and investing in things that you shouldn't, or extracting money from your super before you should, because it's supposed to be kept for your retirement. But they can also help. Sorry. But they can also help with potential fraud, and that's a particular area that ASIC's worried about.
Okay. Is it becoming harder to run a self-managed super fund? I mean, it sort of seemed like maybe the original idea was for people like you or me who want to try and control it a little bit ourselves. Is it getting outside our actual...
Look, I don't think it's outside your competence, but it's obviously something that people really need to pay good attention to. And so for that reason, many people choose not to go into a self-managed super fund, or some use a particular trustee who they will trust to be the administrator or the trustee of their self-managed super fund. But it is a complex area because whenever you're investing money for something that might be 10, 20, 30 years in the future, there's a lot to take into account.
And so the main message from you is, be vigilant, understand the rules, or employ someone who actually does.
And particularly for trustees of superannuation funds, as they think about selecting their auditor, for the first time, they're going to have a public register of people who've met these standards and have met the new competencies, and that means that they'll be able to select somebody who they know has met that standard. That's a great thing for them. And for the auditing profession itself, it gives them an opportunity to raise their standards, which is very important.
Okay, so 10 years in for SPAA, what do you see for the next 10 years?
Look, I think that self-managed super is here to stay. I think that Australians naturally like to take control of their own money, but there's some concerns there. Sorry, I should say, for many people who manage their own super, it works very, very well for them. But there's some dangers there. If you've only got a small amount, I don't know whether self-managed super is for you. Wait until you get a larger amount that's there that makes it worth it. The extra costs that you've got to do, and just be careful where you invest.
All right, good on you, Greg.
Good.
Nice
Thanks,
to see
Andrew.
you.